Well, I'm very pleased to be here today with Fatih Birol, who's the chief economist at the International Energy Agency, who just gave a presentation upstairs on the World Energy Outlook for 2013. Fatih, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
You know, for those who haven't gotten to take a full read of the document or see the presentation, could you remind us of some of the big sort of themes and trends that came out of the Outlook that are really defining for the Outlook this year?
I think one of the first messages we try to give is that as a result of the changes in the unconventional oil and gas world, as a result of the unexpected events such as Fukushima and some energy policies, the role of many countries are being redefined. For example, some countries who have been energy importers years and years are becoming energy exporters, such as US becoming a gas exporter, Brazil 2015 becoming a major oil exporter. And at the same time, some countries, like the Middle East countries, who were affecting the energy markets as an exporter, now, in addition to that, they will be affecting the markets as a significant energy consumer, especially for oil markets. They are going to consume a lot of oil. Tomorrow, their oil consumption, will be equal to the China of today. Very important. And then the trade patterns are changing. We see that, for example, Canada, in addition to the United States, they have to look more and more to Asia for the new oil and gas resources to export. Or Russia, in addition to Europe, they have to look for new clients because Europe's energy demand is not growing very much, and there are some other suppliers who want to sell energy to Europe. Russia needs to look at Asia, China, India, Japan, and others. So this is the first thing. And another thing is that we think that the gas prices, which is a very important issue for the energy debate now, there are substantial differences between Europe and United States and US and Japan. In Europe, they are today 3 times more expensive than the United States, and Japan 5 times more expensive than the United States. And when we look at the future, I don't see major reasons or any reason that these prices will converge. There will be still differences between the European, Asian, and the US gas markets, which may have effects on the competitiveness of those countries, especially when it comes to the energy-intensive sectors. Perhaps the last trend, and before going to the other issues to discuss, we highlight the strong growth of oil production in the United States, especially coming from light tight oil, which is a very good news for US and for the rest of the world. But World Energy Outlook still says that since there is a huge demand coming from Asia, Asia oil import needs will increase 15 million barrels per day, we still need Middle East countries to invest and to produce oil to meet the growth in Asia. It may not be a good message, as we read in the newspapers in some cases, to say that we do not need growth from Middle East oil anymore. In the context of US, perhaps US may not need so much oil imported, but there is a huge growth coming from Asia. Therefore, it is important to encourage Middle East countries to invest now so that the oil production grows and adds to the global oil markets. So Middle East is and will stay critical for the global oil markets for many years to come.
But you're building off of the oil market dynamics that you were just sort of talking about. The 2013 was also the 40th anniversary of the oil embargo in the 1970s, which is a sort of pivotal event for the IEA's history and the origination, and quite frankly, for a lot of U.S. energy policy. How has things sort of changed over that 40-year period, and what kind of thinking should we be bringing into sort of current day thoughts about how oil markets are changing in light of sort of, that historical precedent?
A couple of things changed and a couple of things didn't change. What changed is that at that time, the share of IEA countries in the global oil market consumption was about 2/3, and today their share went down less than 50%, and tomorrow in 2030s it will be less than 1/3. So there's a big change there, and the role of IEA countries in oil consumption is declining, and the role of emerging countries is increasing. This is one. Second, new oil production is coming from US, from Canada, from West Africa. At that time, people thought that the only oil which we are going to see will be the Middle East oil, and it is changing now. There are many other basins we see oil production to grow, although Middle East is still and will be important in the next years to come. A third one change is under, of course, oil prices. So we thought at that time oil prices were very high 40 years ago, but today we have 3 years in a row oil prices over $100, which is a significant burden for many oil importing countries for their current account balances. So these things have changed. One thing didn't change. Oil is still the most important commodity in the world. So therefore, there is a lot of things to do for the CSAs, for the IEA, and for other institutions.
You know, you've done a lot of work on both the IEA and you personally have done a lot of work on the light tight oil revolution and unconventional gas, and trying to help people understand this phenomenon that's come on so quickly and been scaled at such a a fast pace that I think it's taken a lot of people by surprise. How does the 2013 outlook sort of build on your already fairly strong history on looking at those trends?
I think we see that the oil production in light tight oil production in the United States will still grow. Today it is about 2.2 million barrels per day. It will be more than doubling in the next 15 years, which is very good to bring United States very close to self-sufficiency. So this is very good. But we have difficulties to believe that this success story in the United States can be repeated elsewhere at a similar scale in terms of the shale oil. In terms of shale gas, there is a huge appetite throughout the world to continue to replicate the success story of United States, but I don't see anywhere up to 2020 that there will be a strong growth from shale gas. Perhaps after 2020 from China we can see a bit, and some countries, Indonesia and some Latin American countries, but before that it is very difficult. One important issue here is in the US, the gas prices. Today they're about $4 and provides a very strong competitive edge for the US industry, for the US economy, and we expect these prices may go up a bit, about 5.5, and this will still be much cheaper than in Europe and in Asia, but within the United States, in the US consumption, according to our analysis, if the gas prices come around $5.5, then the coal may well make a comeback if there are no regulations, no measures put in place. If it left only to the economics of it, about $5.5 MBTU of gas prices, we may see coal to come back.
Speaking of coal and some of these fuel dynamics, you've also done a great deal of work on climate change, both on the analysis of emissions and how energy trends feed into that, but also a lot of the intellectual underpinning around some of the international negotiations and the way people talk about the issue. What does the 2013 outlook say about the track we're on for climate change and some of the things that can or should be done to sort of deal with the issue?
I think this year's World Energy Outlook says the trends are not very encouraging, except for some bright spots. Last year, the CO2 emissions increased about 1.4% again, which puts us in line with a temperature increase about 7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is definitely a devastating trajectory for all of us. And for energy, it is important because energy is responsible 2/3 of the emissions leading to climate change. If we find a solution to climate change, this should be within the energy sector first. So therefore, we have suggested 4 policies which can be put in place without harming the economic growth and still leave the door open for a much more radical climate policies when the economies are stronger. These are using energy more efficiently, especially in industry and transportation sector. There are some measures we suggest which will pay back within 5 years of time. Very good suggestions in terms of economics. Second, banning of the inefficient coal-fired power plants, not to use them anymore if they are below certain efficiency levels. Third, reduction of methane emissions from oil and gas production. Lots of companies let the methane to escape during the oil and gas production, which is also a powerful greenhouse gas, methane, the reduction of that. And the fourth is the reduction of the fossil fuel subsidies. And there is some move there, and we have given some suggestions to countries to push those fossil fuel subsidy reforms. What are the bright spots? China and India, China and United States are the 2 largest emitters. When I look at the US numbers, 2012, US CO2 emissions went back to the levels of the 1990s, almost 20 years back, provided a very good point of departure for the US negotiators for the meetings. Plus the current governments, the climate action plan, and they seem to be determined to address the climate change, makes me hopeful. And the second thing is China. Last year, China's CO2 emissions increased, one of the lowest in the last 10 years. This is mainly as a result of energy efficiency policies put in place, and also a lot of new renewable come into the picture. So, and plus, in China today, local pollution is becoming a hot topic, not only for energy, but even for the social life. And I would expect the Chinese government to put policies in place to limit the local pollution, which will also help to reduce CO2 emissions as well. So putting the developments in China, US, and the China-US bilateral discussions to find a solution to climate change, and plus the ongoing keen interest in Europe to find a solution to climate change, makes me hopeful for the rendezvous in Paris in 2015, and perhaps we can see some positive, surprising results there.
Yeah, we'll hope so. So, you know, as many of us sort of appreciate, once you're done with one of these outlooks, you're already planning for the next one. So do you have some ideas you'd like to share about what the themes will be or the trends you'll be looking at for the 2014 outlook?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we have already planned the next year's work. There are 3 topics we are going to cover, among others. One of them is every year we focus on a country and make an in-depth analysis of that country in a forward-looking analysis. This year we work on Brazil, last year we worked on Iraq, and next year we want to work on Africa, looking at the African oil and gas production, how much revenues it can bring to the governments there and to the people, what kind of governance model can be considered. Plus, we look at another issue in Africa, which is the electricity markets. Electricity access is an issue, and there's a lot of gas unused, and how the gas to power projects can be made use of. So we have a today and the forward-looking analysis of the Africa as a region. We will look at that. Again, every year we look at the fuel in depth. This year we focus on oil. Last year we look at efficiency as a fuel, and next year we want to 2014 we want to look at nuclear power as a fuel. As I believe it is now time to have a factual look at the nuclear power in terms of the economics of it, technology, and the role of nuclear addressing the climate change and other issues. We are not, as we never do, we are not going to push or encourage any fuels, but it is important to put the facts on the table rather than our emotions. This is what we want to do. This is the second one. And the third, we are hoping to have a special report of World Energy Outlook in June, responding a request from the G8 in Camp David, namely looking at the infrastructure needs in the global energy system, how much we need investments and how they can be financed, which countries, which financial barriers are there. We are going to look at the infrastructure and investment issues globally, and country by country and sector by sector, oil, gas, within gas, LNG, pipelines, and all of these things, and their financing. This will be our work for June 2014.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of work to be done. We thank you so much for spending your time here with us at CSIS today, and we look forward to the outlook for next year as well.
Thank you very much to you and to CSIS. Thank you.
Thank you.